The boardroom fell silent except for Marcus Chen's labored breathing as he stared at the ragged figure standing in his showroom, dirt caked under the man's fingernails. His clothes hung in tatters, held together by hope and fraying thread. The stench of the streets, urine, sweat, and something indefinably human wafted through the pristine air of Chen Motors, the most prestigious Mercedes dealership in Los Angeles. Marcus's sales team stood frozen, their faces twisted in barely concealed disgust. But what happened next would shatter everything Marcus thought he knew about success, dignity, and the thin line between poverty and purpose. The man shuffled forward, his weathered boots squeaking against the marble floor. Marcus watched his employees edge backward, creating an invisible barrier between luxury and poverty. Sarah Mitchell, his top saleswoman, actually covered her nose with a Hermes scarf. The gesture made Marcus's stomach turn, though he couldn't say why. Maybe because 6 months ago, before his father's dealership became his, he might have done the same thing. "Can I help you, sir?" Marcus asked, his voice carrying across the showroom. The other salespeople turned to stare at him like he'd lost his mind. "You didn't engage with homeless people. You called security." Everyone knew that. The ragged man's eyes met his, clear, focused, burning with something Marcus couldn't quite identify. "Intelligence? Determination? Pain? I need to buy 5 Mercedes trucks," the man said. His voice was rough like sandpaper on wood, but steady. The showroom erupted in poorly suppressed laughter. Chad Morrison, the dealership's most arrogant salesman, didn't even bother hiding his amusement. "Sir, do you know how much one Mercedes G-Wagon costs? We're talking $150,000 minimum. Times 5? That's $750,000. The man didn't flinch. "I know the price." More laughter rippled through the room. Marcus felt his face flush with secondhand embarrassment, not for the homeless man, but for his team. When had they become so cruel? When had he hired people who measured human worth in dollar signs? "Look, buddy," Chad continued, stepping forward with his signature smirk. "Why don't you go back to whatever underpass you crawled out from? We've got real customers to attend to." He gestured toward the street. "There's a soup kitchen on 5th Street. They open at noon." Something cracked inside Marcus. Maybe it was the memory of his father, who'd started this dealership after immigrating from Taiwan with $200 in a dream. Maybe it was the shame of watching grown adults mock someone who was clearly struggling. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe he was just tired of being surrounded by people who'd forgotten how to see other human beings. "Chad, you're fired," Marcus said quietly. The showroom went silent again. Chad's face turned scarlet. "What? Marcus, come on, I was just... Get out, now, pick up your final check on Friday." Chad stormed out, slamming the glass door so hard it rattled in its frame. The other salespeople suddenly found their shoes fascinating. Marcus turned back to the ragged man, whose expression hadn't changed at all. No gratitude, no satisfaction, just that same burning intensity. "Sir, why don't we step into my office?" Marcus said. "We can discuss this properly." The man nodded once and followed Marcus past the rows of gleaming vehicles, each one worth more than most families earned in 5 years. In his office, Marcus gestured to a leather chair. The man sat carefully, as if afraid he might damage something. "I'm Marcus Chen. I own this dealership." "William Shaw," the man said. "Most people call me Bill." Marcus pulled out a bottle of water from his mini-fridge and handed it to Bill, who accepted it with a nod. The man drank slowly, deliberately, like someone who'd learned not to waste anything. Marcus waited, fighting his curiosity. "I know what your people think," Bill finally said. "They look at me and see trash. Someone to laugh at. Someone who couldn't possibly have $750,000. He reached into his tattered coat and pulled out a crumpled envelope. Inside was a cashier's check from First National Bank. Marcus's eyes widened. As he read the amount, $800,000. "How?" Marcus started, then stopped himself. "I'm sorry. That's none of my business." Bill's laugh was bitter. "It's okay. Everyone wants to know. I was an investment banker, believe it or not. Made partner at Goldman Sachs before I turned 40. Had the penthouse, the cars, the beautiful wife." He stared at the water bottle in his hands. "Then my daughter Emma got sick. Leukemia. She was 7 years old." Marcus felt his chest tighten. Insurance didn't cover everything. Experimental treatments, specialists, trips to Europe for trials. We burned through our savings in 6 months. I mortgaged the house, liquidated our retirement accounts, borrowed from friends. Nothing worked. Emma died 3 weeks after her 8th birthday. The office felt too small suddenly, too quiet. Marcus wanted to say something, anything, but what words could possibly matter? My wife blamed me, Bill continued. Said I should have made more money, tried harder, done something. She left 6 months later. I fell apart. Lost my job. Lost the house. Lost everything. He looked up at Marcus. I've been on the streets for 3 years. Living in that invisible world your employee mentioned, the underpasses, the shelters, the soup kitchens. Then where did the money come from? Marcus asked softly. Bill smiled for the first time, and it transformed his face. My brother died last month. Heart attack. He never married, never had kids. Left everything to me, his only family. $950,000 after taxes and fees. I'm sorry for your loss. Don't be. Richard and I hadn't spoken in 15 years. We had some stupid argument about politics or religion or something. That seemed important at the time. He didn't even know about Emma, didn't know. I was homeless. Bill's voice cracked. And now I have his money, but I can't tell him thank you. Can't tell him I was wrong about whatever we fought about. Can't tell him anything. Marcus blinked back tears. In the silence, he heard his father's voice. Real wealth isn't in your bank account, son. It's in what you do for others. Why 5 trucks? Marcus asked. Bill straightened in his chair. There are 5 families living under the 101 overpass near Alameda Street. Good people who got dealt bad hands. James worked in construction until he fell off a scaffold and injured his back. Can't get disability because he was paid under the table. Maria fled an abusive husband with her 3 kids. Can't get a job because she has no address. David's a veteran with PTSD who can't navigate the bureaucracy to get his benefits. There's a couple, Tom and Lisa. Both lost their jobs during the pandemic and never recovered. Marcus listened, stunned. I've lived with them for 2 years, Bill continued. They shared their food with me when I had nothing. Kept me warm in winter. Stopped me from giving up when I wanted to die. They're my family now, the only real family I have left. His voice grew stronger. These trucks aren't for luxury. They're homes, safe, secure homes with locks on the doors. James can drive for Uber, make some money. Maria can get the kids to school reliably. David can have a space that's his own, where he feels safe. Tom and Lisa can start over. And what about you? Marcus asked. Bill shook his head. I'll keep $150,000 to get myself back on my feet. Apartment, clothes, job training. The rest goes to them and to the shelter that kept me alive. That's what Richard would want, I think. To help people, to matter. Marcus stood up, his mind racing. Bill, I'm going to do you one better. Give me a week. I'll prepare 5 trucks fully customized for what your friends need. Mattresses in the back, storage systems, solar panels for charging phones and devices, built-in coolers. We'll make them real homes. Bill's eyes glistened. I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. My father always said our dealership should serve the community. I think I forgot that somewhere along the way. Marcus extended his hand. Let me do this, please. Bill gripped his hand, tears streaming down his weathered face. 1 week later, Marcus stood in the parking lot of the Alameda Street overpass. 5 gleaming Mercedes G-Wagons sat in a row, each one customized as promised. His entire sales team was there, minus Chad, and this time nobody was laughing. Sarah Mitchell had personally helped install curtains in each vehicle for privacy. Bill arrived with James, Maria, David, Tom, and Lisa. Their faces reflected the same shock. Marcus had felt in his office the disbelief that something good could actually happen. Maria's kids screamed with joy, running around the trucks like they'd discovered buried treasure. As Marcus handed over the keys, news crews captured everything. By evening, the story had gone viral. Homeless man's kindness transforms luxury dealership, read the headlines. Donations poured into the shelter. Bill had mentioned over $2 million in the first week alone. But the real transformation happened inside Marcus, as he watched 5 families receive not just vehicles, but dignity, hope, and a fighting chance. He understood what his father had been trying to teach him all along. True success wasn't measured in sales figures or profit margins. It was measured in moments like this, when you recognized the humanity in others and chose kindness over cruelty, compassion over contempt. Bill approached Marcus as the families drove away in their new homes, waving and honking. "You gave them more than trucks," he said. "You gave them belief. Belief that they matter, that they're seen, that they're not invisible anymore." Marcus smiled, thinking of his father, of Bill's brother Richard, of all the chances we missed to change lives, including our own. We all have a choice every single day, to laugh at people's pain or to witness their humanity. I made the wrong choice for too long. Thank you for showing me a better way. As the sun set over Los Angeles, Marcus Chen stood in an empty parking lot, forever changed by a ragged man who'd asked for 5 trucks and received something far more valuable in return: the chance to prove that kindness, selflessness, and the power of humanity could still triumph in a world that had forgotten how to care. Sometimes the biggest mistake we make is judging a person's worth by their appearance. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we get a second chance to do better.